Good morning, everyone. Good morning and welcome to Nadex Morning Analysis. My name is Todd Rich. I'm with Nadex. I've got Brian Caprice from Keep Trading Simple with us as well. And we do have some interesting things to talk about this morning. One, I want to mention if you're here because you're participating in the Nadex Trading Challenge, welcome. Glad to have you here. If you don't know what I'm talking about, please pay attention when what we've got going on at Nadex. We are running a demo trading challenge this week with cash prizes, and we're going to be doing this a little bit more frequently. So if you missed this one, stay tuned because we're going to be doing more of them. Before I uh, get into it with Brian about what we've been hearing this evening and what's going on in the markets, I do have to put up this disclaimer that trading does involve risk and that any trading decisions you make are solely your responsibility. Most importantly, I do want to point out that this is educational in nature. Please do not construe anything that Brian or I say as a buy or sell recommendation. With that, let's move this out of the way. Brian, you want to kick us off here and
Sure.
just kind of give us the rundown of what we've been seeing overnight?
Yeah, so Mondays are always interesting, especially with what we have going on right now with obviously a pandemic. Last week we got news from Pfizer that they mentioned that their vaccine was 90% effective, and today, and even last week, we heard a little bit about Moderna. And today, this early morning, we got more data from Moderna, talking about its shelf life, talking about temperature status, as well as phase 3 study efficacy up to 94.5%. So that's all great news, and we've seen this before. And one of the things that makes this a little bit more difficult in trading, particularly on a Monday morning, is, how is what is the spin going to look like today? Are we going to talk about all the positive kind of properties of, having a vaccine, or are we going to hear about the opposite, the record levels? I know at least where I live in Maryland, we've had record levels of COVID infections. I guess this is the third day in a row now. And again, we're kind of going into the shutdown process and things. And other states are going through the same types of things as well. So just looking at the indices real quick, and this is always a word of warning on Monday mornings. We don't know where the retail trader is going to step in. And a lot of this is, again, determined by where the media is kind of spin it this morning. Now, when you see the Dow, we can see the Dow pop as soon as it heard Moderna news this morning, right? And that's great. That means basically people are happy. People are looking to get back into working. Again, no shutdown, those types of things. Now we're starting to see a little bit of a pullback now since that time. Looking across the S&P, you can see we're not quite as high up. Again, higher up in the curve. But again, what are we seeing? Kind of a rollover effect, saying, yeah, it's another vaccine, but it's not going to be here. And how does that affect us in the near term? And then again, the NQ, we didn't even get a pop. We got a spike to the downside. And the reason why we're seeing the NQ drop down is because it's basically technology based at this point. And what it is this is virtual working. This is virtual schooling, teleworking from home. So, again, positive vaccine, negative for those tech companies out there. Do I think that necessarily the negativity is justified? No, not so much. And the reason why is because, again, I think technology is here to stay at this point. And again, that's kind of where we're moving to in the future here. So again, be cautious with any of these three.
Yeah, and that is kind of what we saw when we saw a very similar move when Pfizer announced that it had its vaccine that was working. So kind of a similar reaction in the market.
Yeah, and like I said, I think I always tell people, particularly my students as well, don't trade with a crystal ball. Trade with what you see. Okay, you can make a lot of assumptions about what could happen, but unless you've seen it in the markets, again, it's better to kind of watch, figure out, again, where buyers and sellers have stepped in, and then follow the trends. Wait for the pullbacks or the pops and everything, and get into those positions. Like I said, as down as this is right now, it could very easily just turn and flip if retail traders say, "Yes, Moderna's in, we're good."
Right.
And again, you don't want to be, just taking it's not about guessing. It's about, stacking the odds in your favor as much as possible.
So those are all three good markets to see what happens here in 25 minutes when the cash stock markets open and we start getting a glimpse.
Yep. Now, one thing I did want to point out is I wanted to look over at oil if we have time.
Oh, for sure. We have plenty.
Sure. So oil's in an interesting situation. Oil is also obviously affected by COVID-19 based off of demand. Your commute to your kitchen for virtual working, telecommuting. You're not using a lot of gas for that, right? So again, when we hear about vaccines and things like that, we've seen pops in oil, and again, oil popping back up into that 41 range. Now, last week we had mentioned an area. We had a little bit of it basing. We ended up getting a nice little bounce off of it. And again, we're starting to get close to that area. Right now, prices are currently around 41.90, right around the 42-ish range, so about 15 to 20 cents from where we are now. We've seen sellers step in once again. So, the open could happen, and this could collapse all the way back down into the 41 range. But if we get a little bit of a bounce, there's something that I like to call a 10 o'clock reversal in the morning, where we have the initial reaction to kind of news in the morning, and then we reverse. It's kind of an opening trap. Well, we're kind of running back up into that level as well. And even more interesting, and again, I don't use fibs too often, but when I was looking at this, I said, this kind of looks like this could be an interesting draw here. So what I did is I actually grabbed it from the last time we kind of started the uptrend, brought it to its high, and I realized that we had the 23.6 cutting right through an area where sellers, and they literally came almost to exactly the same price right here, almost at the exact same price to the 23.6. So it's not only an area where we've seen sellers step in, but it's also a Fibonacci level here at the 23.6. So again, sellers have stepped in. It's been confirmed. 23.6, emotional reaction on a Monday morning, looking for a pop. And again, a lot of times that provides opportunity, particularly around a 10 o'clock reversal.
That is actually really quite interesting. How those levels, not only the ones that you're seeing in regard to the price action, but also lining up with the Fibonacci's. Let's go ahead and jump over to the Nadex platform, in fact, and let's take a look at the same thing. I'd like people to be able to see and apply it. Here we are. We're looking at some Nadex, the call spreads, but we see this basing level that was certainly, what was this? This is right around 41 down below. And this right where we are now, up in this 42-ish level, this is where you're seeing, where the sellers have been stepping in, and I guess it's something that people can be looking at today to see what happens with oil. There might be an opportunity here, and indeed, some of these levels are lining up right with the Fibonacci's. I mean, here you can see the support now. It was resistance earlier, down around just above 41. Around 41.12, and if this were to turn, you might see it kind of pull back into that
and I
range again.
tell my students on the lower time frames, the way to find when this is going to turn is to watch it on maybe the 5 or the 10 minute. Again, if you can find something around 10 o'clock this morning, 10 o'clock Eastern, look on the 5 or 10 minute charts, and then look for what I would call a failure to go higher position. That typically is enough to, again, to give you that kind of confirmation that, hey, listen, we're starting to roll. We're seeing the sellers step in. Prices pushed higher, but it got fought back. The sellers stepped in and kind of, pushed it back down again. And again, depending on, how volatile Monday morning is, this could be one of those ones that, we maybe even drop into the shorter duration, binaries or any of the shorter duration contracts.
Right. And in fact, I went ahead because we were looking at the call spreads there in oil. And I thought, all right, let's go ahead and just take a look over in the binaries, and there might be some opportunities in here. People could be paying attention to what's going on in the binary options, see what these probabilities are, and make a determination if they thought it was going to roll over. There might be some opportunities there as well. So certainly of interest. Oil tends to be a supply-demand driven thing, and with people thinking the economy is going to start freeing up again, anticipating a demand in an increase in demand, it would drive the price higher. But again, we don't know when that's going to happen. So that should be kind of interesting.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, don't trade with the crystal ball. Trade with what you see. Trade the chart, not trade the crystal ball. If that makes sense.
I kind of like that saying.
I'm sure I can make it rhyme, and it would be better for everybody. But yeah, don't trade the crystal ball. Trade the chart.
So what I would like to do also is, let's go ahead and make sure people can see it. Oop, I lost you there, Brian, for a second. I don't know why.
Oh, no, I'm fine.
Oh, there you're back. Okay, so, but I do like that saying. Listen, if you need any help, Nadex is around to help you. reach out to us, customerservice@nadex.com. Follow us on social media. If you want to have any questions for Brian, support@keeptradingsimple.com. One thing I would like to point out, because this is part of our trading challenge this week, our demo trading challenge, Nadex is always running promotions. We've got some promotions. If you are a first-time customer at Nadex, on your initial deposit, you can get a 10% deposit bonus up to $100. If you want to know about that, reach out to our customer service at nadex.com. If you're an existing customer who is coming back after a long time, we've got a reactivation campaign very, very similar. But our best bonus offer that we've got is the Refer a Friend program, where you refer a friend, and we definitely offer some relatively significant bonuses for that. It's a couple $100. So I just wanted to mention that because if you aren't aware of any of those programs, please email us, customerservice@nadex.com. If you don't have a demo account, click on that link below. It's a great way to practice, get into the markets, see a little bit of price action. And with Nadex defined risk, defined reward products, they're designed for the retail customer. Again, with that, I want to thank you all for joining us. And Brian and I are going to be doing this every morning. So feel free to come join us every morning at this time. And with that, we want to give you some time to get ready for the cash market open in 19 minutes. Thank you for joining us, and good luck in the markets.